Right, wonderful learners. Welcome again to this session. I hope that all of you guys are fine. Today we'll be doing urban land use zones as part of the structure of an urban area. Remember, we already talked about two aspects of the structure of the urban area. We talked about the urban profile, which is the side view of an urban area from the just the side view. Let's just say the side view. And then we also talked about the spread patterns. That is part of the structure of an urban area. So the last aspect that we look at when we are studying the structure of an urban area is the urban land use zones. Okay. As the name suggests, Rachels, it is very easy to understand this because the name is actually suggesting what the concept is about. So when you're talking about a land use zone, we're simply trying to talk about what is the land being used for in an urban area. Let me tell you one thing. The urban areas that you are living at, they were actually planned to be the way they are. Actually, there's a planning that is done before developing an urban area or an urban settlement. Okay, so basically, each and every land is used for a specific thing. Each and every land is used for what? For a specific thing. So a land use zone, you can define it as an area. So a land use zone is a place or is an area which has got some features that define its function. So we call that a land use zone. So it's just an area that has got certain features that define its function. Remember, guys, in the context of a settlement geography, when we talk about the function, we are talking about the economic activity. We are talking about what is happening in that area economically, right? Or how are people in that area earning money? So now, a land use zone, for example, if we take a residential area is a land use zone. As the name suggests, it says residential area. So it's a place where people reside. It's a place where people live. So that place must definitely be made up of houses. It must be made up of maybe flats or hostels. It must be made up of recreational areas because people need to go to parks, you know. It must also contain some schools as well as some shops because that's a place where people live, right? So if you look at most of our townships, basically in South Africa, they've got this model whereby the residential area, where people live, we have got quite a couple of houses and quite a couple of parks to go to just for recreation. We've got a school so that our children can go and learn. Like for you, I'm sure your school is a Login or something. And then we have got also shops for people to be able to get their lower order goods. So basically all of these features, they tell us that people are living in that area. So we say that a land use zone is just an area and that area has got certain features. Those features, they define the function of the area. Just like the example I told you that a land use zone such as a residential area, it is made up of which features? It's made up of houses, flats, recreational areas, schools and shops, because those features, they actually tell us the people are living in that area. All right. If we take another example, as the textbook is saying here, we've got an industrial area. An industrial area, what type of land use zone is this? A land use zone known as an industrial area, it is basically a place for industries. Industries, guys, is all about manufacturing. Okay, it's made up of large buildings, factories. So an industrial area must be made up of many large buildings. It must be made up of factories and industries. It must have roads. It must also have green areas as well. But those are just the features that make up an industrial area. So basically, land use zone is just an area, just an area that has got certain features, and those features define their function. So we're going to look at different land use zones in an urban area and try to understand them. So remember, guys, we're going to relate this topic to the urban profile, which is the one that I showed you when we began with this session of the structure of an urban area. We talked about how the buildings look like from the city center or all the way to the outskirts, and I explained quite a couple of things here, but now we're going to be detailed to say what is happening in that city. So we're going to start at the city center itself. That is the Central Business District. So at the center, we find the Central Business District. As it says, guys, this is a business area. It's a place that is full of business. So basically, this place must have quite a couple of buildings, and those buildings, they must be tall, of course, so that people can maximize the number of offices that they can have. So in a very busy area, guys, there must be tall buildings. That's the first thing. So there are tallest buildings at the CPD because basically there must be lots of offices because people are doing a lot of business there. So basically, the CPD contains the tallest buildings, and then also the buildings are densely packed. So we say that there is high building density because the buildings are packed closer to one another. Okay, you will never find space in a CBD of an urban area. Go to Johannesburg. The Johannesburg CBD, it spans from around MTN Taxi Rank all the way until around Wanderer Street, around those areas. That is the CBD for Johannesburg. That place is always full. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of traffic. Even when you're trying to drive, you cannot be able to drive at the Johannesburg CBD. Reason being, people are doing business there. There's even taxi ranks for people to be able to commute to different places. So it's always so packed. So the CBD has got the highest building density and it has got the tallest buildings. And a good thing, it is the most accessible. In fact, the CBD has got the most people, so it is easy to access the CBD because most of the services are found in the CBD. Okay, at the CBD, you are going to find taxi ranks. Let's just say you want to commute maybe from Johannesburg and you want to go to Cape Town. Okay, you want for let's just say you're moving from Johannesburg, you want to go to Emalahleni in Mpumalanga. You will have to go and get a taxi at Wanderers, and that Wanderers is found at the CBD. So basically, it's accessible for people, and with all this business activity that is going on, the CBD will always have the highest land value because people all demanding to be at the city center. All people want to be at the city center. Right? All people want to be at the city center. So it's always fully packed, as I've already explained. So yeah, that's basically it in simple terms. The CBD, whenever they ask you anything about it, they ask you, okay, we're still going to do questions together and try to guide each other how to answer questions. But I want you guys to understand this. This is not a cramer's job because this one you need to apply it when they ask you those paragraph questions. The CBD has got tallest buildings, highest building density, it's most accessible, and the value of the land at the CBD, it is the highest. You need to understand those. What do they mean? If you don't understand, that is why we're having this session. You ask, do you guys understand?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Right. Let's proceed and look at the transition zone. So from the urban profile, we are now going to the left or to the right, going to the right. So we already covered the CBD as a land use zone to say what is the CBD used for, what is its features. Its features is tallest buildings, most expensive land, the center of all business activity. So now we are going to move to the left or to the right of the CBD. We are going to look at this place. So this place is known as a transition zone. So the transition zone is next to the CBD. So the transition zone being next to the CBD, is it that good to be at? Let me show you what the transition zone is. So the transition zone is defined as a zone of mixed and changing land use. All right. So basically, this is a zone of mixed and changing land use. So remember, guys, at the CBD, we said that there is business activity, but when you now move away from the CBD, you now go to a transition zone where the land use will now start changing. Remember that we say that the CBD is a commercial place. It's a place that is full of business activity. But now when you now move to the transition zone next to the CBD, there is not so much business activity there. You are going to see flats. You're going to see people starting to stay there. But basically, it's a zone of mixed and changing land use. So now we are like changing from business. I'm sure we are moving from the CPT here, and then we are now going next. We are going to the transition zone. So at the transition zone, there is not so much of the business activity as it was there at the CPT. So when you now go to the transition zone, we are now changing. The term transition simply means change. So we are changing the land use. We are changing the way the land is being used. That's what we're trying to say here. Here, the area at the CPT was used for business, but the one at the transition zone, you'll find out that there are flats and people are starting to stay there. So that transition zone, it has got mixture of people staying there and mixture of business activity, but basically there is a change in the way the land is being used. Let's say you are moving from the CPT and you are going next to the CPT. You just walk a couple of miles, you go to the transition zone. So this is a zone known as the transition zone. So the transition zone is often called a zone of decay. So the transition zone is not so beautiful, I won't lie. Not because I'm saying it in theory or because I'm teaching it, it's because I know it. If you go to Johannesburg, you will see next to the CPT, or if you're at the CPT in Johannesburg and then you start moving away from the CPT, you're going to start seeing some flats. We want to say flats where people stay. The flats are not beautiful, they are filthy, and the urban area is decayed. So we say that it's a zone of decay. So in this area, usually the landlords are not maintaining the buildings. That's just the pattern that has been happening and it's been observed. The landlords are not maintaining the area or the buildings. Why is this? Why can we say that this is something applying to all urban areas? It's because really the CPT is expensive, right? So at the CPT, remember we said that the CPT, there is a lot of high land value. So when you start moving away from the CPT, let's just say right next to the CPT, when you now move at the transition zone, the prices, the value of the land is also high. And to maintain staying near the CPT is very costly. You have to pay a lot of money. So usually landlords, they kind of end up not maintaining the area and the buildings there at the transition zone. So the transition zone just becomes a zone of decay. Okay, just because of this a highland value thing. And then also the working class residents, they live here in these high density flats. Usually we have got a lot of flats and these flats are highly dense. They're closely packed to one another because, the transition zone, guys, is next to the CPT. So it's not so much different from the CPT. Yes, it's a different land use zone because people are starting to stay there and whatnot. But it is closer to the CPT. So usually the people that live at the transition zone, they are the people who work at the CPT. And the flats that they are renting, usually they are expensive, but they're not maintained. So the working class residents are living in high density flats, usually high density flats. But it can happen that they are living in small houses, but I don't know which urban area to make reference of. But if we take an example of Johannesburg, I think most people go to Johannesburg, so I'll be referring to it the most. The CPT, just as you move away from the CPT of Johannesburg, you will see a lot of flats, and there's gonna be a lot of people, and you're just going to see with their clothes outside, Angie. When I see with their clothes outside, there's no space there. All the people that are there, they just want to at least get a chance to live there, stay there, so that they can be able to go to work. All right. So basically, this is usually a place where the working residents live. It's known as a transition zone. But trust me, the properties of transition zone include the fact that it is a zone of decay and it is not maintained by the landlords. Okay. So basically, the urban area, the transition zone, it is very decayed. We say decay. The term decay simply means that the place is not maintained. The buildings are just not in a good state. They are dilapidated, if you want to use a good English, right? So that's it about the transition zone. Let's look at let's see where to go. Let's go to the light industries. All right, yeah. Let's go to the light industries, right? If we go to the light industries, okay, we are here at the transition zone. right? If we go to the light industries are found here in an industrial area. This place is known as an industrial area. Okay, we'll come back again and talk about the suburb and shopping center. Don't worry. Let's talk about the light industries as well as the heavy industries, right? So what are those? A light industry is often near a CBD, or it is found in an industrial area or in an industrial land use zone, right? So the light industry is just light. It's not so much heavy. You're still gonna learn more about it when you do economic geography in term 4. But basically, a light industry, you're gonna find out it's just, for example, maybe a factory that is producing some maybe that is sewing some clothes. That's a light industry. So it's just usually found near the CBD. Or it can happen that you can find it in an industrial area or in an industrial estate. Okay, so these are the areas where government plan to provide a needed power and transport for factories. But usually light industries, sometimes we can just say that they are found in the CBD. Usually the light industries are found within the CBD because they're just light industries. So they are usually found near road and transport because the raw materials are often transported easily this way. So the light industry, you find it near a road usually to easily access, for easy accessibility. Remember, guys, the road is used for transportation. So in case they are transporting some raw materials, can be, let's just take a company that processes beans and make them to be baked beans. That's a light industry, right? So that light industry, okay, that light industry, what does it do? It is located closer to what? To the road, so that it can be able to receive its raw materials easily. All right. So that's a light industry. So it's near the CBD, and then it's usually found near the road or a transport zone. And then it does not cause that much air pollution, right? So there is little noise and air pollution. Light industries, they don't make noise, guys. It's just industries that just do their operations in silence. You're still gonna see heavy industries, they release a lot of smoke and all of that. But light industries, they're just your usual factories that you see them. For example, if I go to someone who's sewing some clothes, okay, someone who's sewing some clothes, we can regard them as just a factory, a light industry. Someone who sews some clothes. So if you go to a place where they are sewing some clothes, you will never hear a lot of noise. There's no noise pollution caused by those people. You won't even know that they exist until you get to them. Right? So it's just light industries. They don't occupy a lot of space. They just need a smaller space to be able to operate their business, to be able to manufacture whatever it is that they are manufacturing. So light industries, they are not a problem. They are usually found within the CBD. Usually they are within the CBD or near the CBD, but they can be found in the industrial parks or the industrial estates. But contrary to that, we have got a heavy industry. Look at the heavy industry. The heavy industry, this one is found on the outskirts. So it is found far away from the city center. The heavy industry is found very far away. As I already showed you guys from this urban profile to say that in the industrial zone, you're going to find factories. You can find the heavy and the light industry. But I told you guys that the light industries, they're usually found in the city center, right? But they can also be found here at the industrial zone, all right? But usually the industrial zone has got a lot of heavy industries the most, all right? So it is out of town. It is actually far away from the town, from the busy area. Why do the heavy industries locate themselves far away from the city center? Because heavy industries, number one, they require cheap land. Remember I told you when you studied the urban profile, I told you that the land value, it decreases as you move away from the city center. So basically, if you are moving away from the city center and you are going towards those rural areas, like you are coming out of town, okay? So when you are coming out of the town or when you are exiting the town, the land value becomes cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. The land is the most expensive at the CBD, but when you move away from the CBD, the land becomes cheaper. So heavy industries, they usually occupy big land. So the land must be cheap so that they can be able to make profit, all right? But the light industries, they're usually found in the CBD because they just want a lot of profit. They just want a lot of people to come to their stores. But the heavy industries, they're located far away from the CBD. The first reason is because they want cheaper land. That's the first thing. There are many reasons why these heavy industries are located far away from the city center. It's because the land is what? It is the cheapest. So we say that they are located at the outskirts. The term outskirts simply suggests far away from the city center or far away from the urban area. So now the heavy industries, they must definitely be located near a major road. So it must be near a what? A major road and rail networks for transport. Okay, but before we get to this point, let me just solidify here this one. Why are the heavy industries located far away from the city center? I already gave you one reason, guys. Write those down. Write those reasons down. The first reason why the heavy industry is found away from the city center, it is because the land is the cheapest. So land is cheap if you are in the outskirts. So land is cheap at the outskirts. We are writing the reasons why these heavy industries are found far away from the city center. The land is cheap. The land value is low. You can say that the land is cheap. Number one. Number two, grade 12s. The heavy industries and the light industries, they cause a lot of land and what? And a noise pollution. Those two. Land, it's air and noise pollution, sorry. They cause air and noise pollution. So when we say that they are causing air and noise pollution, it means that they release a lot of smoke. Usually, guys, I'm sure you have seen industries that release smoke. You see what time and this company is working, and all of a sudden you see some smoke coming out from these turbines, and you be like, what's going on there? Imagine if this area was found within the CBD where there are a lot of people moving around. People are going to get sick because of these fumes or this smoke that is being released by the industries. So the heavy industries, they release a lot of air and noise pollution. They make a lot of noise. You just hear the sounds of the machine saying woof, 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 and all of that. So they need to be located far away from the city center. Otherwise, if it's just going to make noise and now we want to move around that place, it won't be able to live there with a lot of noise. So they must be far away from the city center, because the city center is the one that is user friendly. The city center is actually where most people prefer to be because of those factors about the city center. But the heavy industries, they cause lots of noise pollution and land pollution and air pollution. So here, due to the air pollution, so it's air pollution and noise. This is one of the reasons why they are located far away from the city center. There are two reasons that I want you guys to catch. The land is cheap, right? And then the air pollution is air pollution there. All right. So let's now talk more features about this land use zone. In a heavy industry, basically, or in an industrial zone. In an industrial zone, the industries are found near major road and rail networks so that there can be transportation of raw materials and finished products. Remember, these industries, guys, they are processing raw materials to make them some goods with value, right? Maybe they are processing some coal to be able to make electricity for you. Let's just say this is a company that is processing coal so that they can produce some electricity, just as Eskom is doing. So basically, these are found near road networks so that it makes it easier for the coal to be delivered to them so that they can process it and make some electricity, right? And furthermore, when they are done with producing whatever they produce, some industries, it's not all industries about coals. Some of the industries, they are making some paper, all right? Locally here, personally where I stay, there is an industry that is producing some paper, but that is far away from the city center. Okay, that industry produces some paper. That paper need to be transported as well away from the industry so that it can go to the retailers and be sold to individuals. So basically, it is found near major road and rail networks for easy access and transportation of what? Of raw materials as well as finished products. Heavy industries, they don't stand a chance of being at the CPD. Remember that. I'm telling you, they don't stand a chance at being where? At the CPD. But the light industries, you can find them at the CPD. Please note that as well. Okay. Now, this is one sad thing about this, right? Near the heavy industries, you are going to see a low income housing or low income residential area. So basically, the places where people stay are known as residential areas. So we can have a high income residential area, or we can have a low income residential area. A high income residential area, that's your suburbs. That's where the people that we usually call rich, that's where they stay. That's a high income residential area. It's an upper class residential area. We also have got a low income residential area. This is where most of the people that do not have so much money, they stay. All right. But what is the painful thing about this? The painful thing is that the low income housing or the low income residential areas, they are found near the what? Near the heavy industries. Because all of them, they are in for the cheap land value. All of them, they are in for the what? For the cheap land value. Remember, guys, I told you that the heavy industries, the industrial zone is located far away. The industrial zone is located far away from the CPD. This one, the industrial land use zone is located far away from the CPD because there is cheap land there. There is cheap land. So since there is cheap land there, usually you would see low income residential areas there. Low income residential area. The low income residential area can also be able to found here. You can also be able to find it here if you go to the right of the CPD. All right. But basically, they are low income, it's small houses, and they are highly dense. All of them, they just want the cheap land value. You can never have the low low income residential area at the CPD. You can never have them there because at the CPD is expensive. So they need to move away, slightly away from the what? From the CPD. So a low income residential area. You can usually find them near the industrial zone, near this industrial zone, although this profile does not indicate that exactly, but you find them near the industrial zone. So the low income residential areas or townships, they are usually townships. You find out that people they experience a lot of noise and air pollution and they don't have a choice. They can't do anything about it. I'm sure they're located closer to the heavy industries. The heavy industries, they are releasing a lot of noise and air pollution and all of that. So they can't do anything about it because they are in for the cheap value. Even the heavy industries, they want a cheap value of land. So basically, the low income housing or the low income residential areas, they usually experience air pollution and noise pollution coming from the CPD. But you see that the people that have got money, the suburbs, all of those people that are staying in good places, we call them good places, right? Those are located far away from the heavy industries because they don't want this land or this air pollution and noise pollution. All right. So we already talked about air pollution and noise pollution, and the heavy industries, they also need to be on a flat land. It's very essential that they are on a flat land and they need to be near a water source as well because industries use a lot of water, of course, to be able to produce whatever they produce. All right. So let's go to these residential areas. Let's just be more specific about them because I think we already talked about the heavy industries, right? Let's talk about these residential areas. So where people stay depends on how much they earn. Okay, It depends on their income. That is why we see you've got middle to high income residential areas, aka upper class residential areas, as well as the low income residential areas. All right. So now the middle to high income residential areas or the upper class residential areas, they are found away from the CBD. Okay. Why do the suburbs, or why do those beautiful houses, why are they located far away from the CBD? It's because they don't want noise, number one. So they don't want noise. That's one thing. They don't want noise. So because the CBD is got a lot of people in it, it's got a lot of companies, and there's a lot of, it's pity, there's a lot of cars moving around. They don't want to experience all of that. So they move away from the CBD. The middle to high income residential areas is the upper class, and there are many, it's beautiful, it's beautiful land, and it's far away from the CBD because they don't want too much noise, right? Because the CBD is noiseful because there's a lot of people moving around. Okay. And then the middle or the to high income residential areas, they often have a good view. They look beautiful, right? Those are your beautiful suburbs, and your house, there are stairs, double stories, all of that, right? So these are townhouses, and they are big houses. They are beautiful and they are big. And there's also more space available as well. All right, so there's more space. So it is far away from the CBD. So the land is not so much fully packed. Remember the CBD, guys, the land is fully packed because there is a lot of people there that want to be at the CBD to do their business. CBD is all about business. But now when you move away from the CBD, people are not interested to build a lot there. So that's where the middle to high income residential areas develop. So there is large properties there. You'll see estates in a high income residential area. You're gonna see estates, beautiful houses, suburbs, because there's a lot of space available. But in a CBD, you can never be able to build an estate or build a suburb or something like that. It's because the CBD is fully packed. People just want to do some business there. So more people are going for business at the CBD. But at the high income residential areas, the people want to just stay in peace. So they are peaceful. They have got good space. They are far away from the pity in the CBD and all of that. And there's also good services and facilities. So let me show you from the urban areas. The high income residential area, from the urban profile, if I show you here, the high income residential areas, look at them. They're far away from the CBD, far away. Here they are, far away from the CBD. But they often need services as well, all right? They need services as well. Let's just say you are in a suburb. You need to be closer to a tuck shop. You need to be closer to a school. You need to be closer to a place where you can buy some stuff each and every day. If you wanna buy bread, imagine moving all the way from the high income residential area to go to the CBD. No, that's not feasible, guys. You need to be located closer to a certain business district. That is where we develop this one known as the suburban office park. So the suburban office park is otherwise known as the outlying business district, the OBD. So we've got a CBD, we have got also an OBD. The CBD, it is where everyone is going to buy some goods, and there's a lot of business activity. But the OBD, the outlying business district, it is just developed so that it can be able to serve the high income residential areas. So I should already say that the high income residential areas, they've got those large homes, large expensive homes, they've got swimming pools, they've got tennis courts, they've got big grounds. All of those are properties or features of this land use zone, of a high income residential area land use zone itself. So basically, they need to have their own business district, an outlying business district. The outlying business district is not like the CBD. The central business district, the CBD, is too much fully packed. We already say that there's a lot of dense buildings there and tall buildings. But the suburban office park, aka the OBD is what? Is peaceful. So there's parking available there. So it means that there's space, because if you compare to the CBD does not have any space. At the outlying business district, there is peaceful surroundings as well, because there's a lot of space there. There's peaceful surroundings. They are just surrounded by their suburbs. That's why we call it a suburban office park. So it's just a park of offices. It's like offices. We just call them offices, but it's actually tuck shops and all of those people offering services, different types of services. And usually in a residential area, you need to have recreational activities there. You need to have a tuck shop where you can buy some goods each and every day, maybe buy some bread, maybe buy some milk, and all of that, right? Yeah. So you need to have that outlying business district. Instead of going to the CBD to get all of that, they have got their own suburban office park. The outlying business district is very peaceful.
Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Educate is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes.
All right, great Charles. Welcome back. All right, as we were discussing, guys, we were talking about the high-income residential areas, and I was telling you that the high-income residential areas, they're the suburbs, and they've got large, expensive homes, swimming pools, tennis courts, big grounds, and they are peaceful surroundings, all right, around the high-income residential areas. The places are beautiful in general. And we also talked about the outlying business district, aka the suburban office park. So the suburban office park is just a park of offices in the suburbs. Okay, but please, guys, try to use the term outlying business district the most. Try to use the term outlying business district, right? So this is where the people in the suburbs shop. They shop there, and then they get their medicine there from local pharmacies, and then there is parking that's available and peaceful surroundings. Yeah. So the high-income residential areas, guys, just those large, expensive homes. I think I don't have to talk more about this because you guys, I'm sure you're aware of them. You are aware of people that are staying in large, beautiful homes with swimming pools and whatnot. All right. Yeah, so that's it for the high-income residential areas. Let's look now at the low-income residential areas. So the low-income residential areas, these ones, let's just look at this picture, analyze it carefully. The low-income residential areas, small houses, that's the first thing that I'm going to tell you about. They've got small houses. They didn't add it here as the property, but basically, a low-income residential area has got small houses. It's got small houses. So this is your average lowish townships usually. Townships having RTP houses, small houses, no double-story houses, and the buildings or the houses, they are very closer together. They are built very closer together, so they don't have spaces between the houses. There is small spaces between the houses. So that's the low-income residential areas. So in a low-income residential area, it's like the people were just allocated a small space to be able to build their house, and then people had to build their house closer to one another. So the low-income residential area, or you can say it is the working class residential area, the houses are built very close together. They are close to the business area as well as the urban profile, such as the first urban profile that I showed you guys. The first urban profile that I showed you here, and let's just found it. Where is it? This thing does not scroll. Okay. So as I was showing you guys from the urban profile, the low-income residential area, you can find them closer to the CBD, or you can find them closer to the industrial zone. I think I explained something like that. So this one, they are highly dense. There is high density at the low-income residential areas, and the basic service, they are not really always available, right? So they are closer to the business district. This is where the working class population stay. That's why you call them the low cost housing. They don't call it informal settlement yet. Don't call it informal settlement. We're still gonna explain about informal settlement further. But basically the low cost housing or the low income residential area. It is a highly dense. The houses are closer to one another, and the basic essential services such as water and electricity, they are not always available. They are not always available. Yes, they can be there sometimes, but they are not always available. It's not a guarantee that the place is going to have some water. It's not a guarantee. That's why sometimes there's power cuts, load shedding. All of that is a part of things that are experienced by the low income residential areas. Okay. So furthermore, this is close to the business area, as I've already explained to you guys. And then there are also fewer facilities. There are fewer facilities. There are less recreational places. Remember, guys, that the high income residential areas, I told you today, is a lot of recreational places. You can go there and have some fun. There are pools. There are large houses, all of that. That was part of the high income residential area. But now at the low income residential area, we have got fewer facilities. There's not so much things to find there. It's just houses. It's just houses packed closer to one another and probably one school there. Yeah, probably one school. And then as I've already said that the houses are just small blocks, and then the buildings, they usually look the same, the buildings. No one has got their unique design because usually the low income residential area is made up of RDP houses. So usually the houses are RDP houses. So these are houses from the Reconstruction and Development Program introduced in South Africa after the apartheid era. So basically, the low-income residential areas is usually those people who get the RDPs. So when they get the RDP, they just stay there. They don't renovate. They don't even make it to look beautiful because it's a low-income residential area, guys. It's a low-income residential area. RDP houses them usually. That's why you say that the buildings, they look the same. They look more like the same thing. Yeah. But this is not really always a low-income residential area. Like if we just become realistic, I myself, I grew up in such a place, but we wouldn't say it's a low-income residential area per se. It's just average. For me, I would say it's middle. But for geography, you will say that it's a low-income residential area. The houses are usually the same. They look alike. The houses are small. They are not so big. The houses are closely packed to one another so that they actually make a maximum use of the land. But if you go to a high income residential area like the one that I showed you here, there's a lot of space. You will see their roads. They've got beautiful patterns here, beautiful street patterns, a beautiful space here. All of that is just aesthetically pleasing. It looks beautiful in a high income residential area, the suburbs. Okay. But in a low-income residential area, it's a bit not so aesthetically pleasing. It's just a place to stay. The buildings look the same. There's fewer services, poor service delivery as well. Yeah, there's poor service delivery. You found out that sometimes the water is not there, sometimes the electricity is not there. Power cuts, load shedding, all of that is part of the things that are experienced by low-income residential area. But in the high-income residential area, they never usually complain about electricity. Okay, it's because they usually pay a lot of rates and taxes to be able to receive those services. But in the low-income residential area, sometimes you find out people, they don't pay the water bill, so they won't receive the water. They get their water cut off by the municipality. If they don't pay the electricity bill, you will see their municipality coming and cutting off their electricity supply. So basically, the low-income residential area is just a place of poor service delivery. But the poor service delivery, I already told you. Usually, guys, if you want to make your place to be beautiful, or if you want to make your place to be developed and to have access to all essential services, you need to pay rates and taxes. You need to pay rates and taxes. Pay the water bill, pay the electricity bill each and every month to the municipality. But if you go to a low-income residential area, you find out that people have got a credits of up to 10,000 rand of the water bill and the electricity bill. And then when the municipality comes, it cuts off their electricity. Okay, it cuts off their electricity. So that's the life in the low-income residential area. The electricity is cut off usually by those reasons. So yeah. And then the last one that we have for the residential areas, we've got an informal settlement. So a place that has got an informal settlement, guys, the informal settlement, I'm sure you know them. So when we say that the informal settlement or informal housing, this one is found on the city's outskirts. This one is found far away from the city. This one is found far away from the cities. Most likely, like you are exiting the city. All right. So it's usually found near heavy industries, the informal settlements. Why do we call them informal settlements? Is because the houses are not built with any planning. So there is no planning here. So we can just say that there is no formal planning. There is no formal planning. So there's no formal planning in the informal settlements. Informal settlements, they usually use their own materials to just build a house. You don't use bricks there. Unlike the low-income residential area, the RDPs are built using some bricks and whatnot. But the informal settlements, we usually call them, what do we call them? Imkuku. Yes, we call them Imkuku. So Imkuku is known as an informal settlement. At that place, usually the houses, they are just built out of, plastic. The houses are built out of wood. Usually it is zinc, corrugated zinc, right? You can just see that this is made up of zinc. This is zinc, this is zinc, right? It's making up the house. So it's an informal settlement, right? So when we look at the conditions, is it healthy? No, it's not healthy conditions because people, they just dump their waste wherever they want. If you are done bathing in your room, you're just going to throw your water somewhere else. There's no piping. Actually, there's not a planned urban settlement. The informal settlement is not really planned, all right? So let's just say you are done bathing, you are just going to pour your water anyway, and it's going to cause some smell there, all of that. Unhealthy conditions there. Lots of diseases, infections and whatnot. It's because there's no planning. Usually the informal settlement is not developed by the municipality at all. It's just people who just decide to start building. When they get the land, they're just building. So there is absolutely no service delivery, by the way. So no service delivery, no roads, no sanitation, no water, no electricity, no schools. There is no government facility that you're going to find in an informal settlement. As the term says, informal settlement, it has not been planned to be there. But people saw an opportunity and they stayed. And let me tell you one thing, Grade 12, in case you did not know, right? Most people, when they are growing up, they grow up in such places, and your parents actually sacrifice a lot of things so that you grow up, and then you study, you go to school, and when you pass, you can be able to take them out of the situation because the situation is not desirable to anyone. No one wants to live in a place like this just by will, to just say, I want to live in an informal settlement, I want to build umkuku and live there. But situations in life force people to do that because you don't really require much money to build these things. You don't really require much money. You just find some zinc, zinc, and then you start building. You put your own fence if you afford to buy a fence. Other people don't even put fence as long as you've got a roof over your head. So some people, they grow up with these conditions. Although they are unhealthy, although there's no roads, there's no sanitation, there's no toilets here, by the way. There's no toilets that are flashable toilets. No. There's no service delivery. There's no water there. People need to get water somewhere else. But other informal settlements, they do have water, but usually they don't have water. So they don't have electricity as well. but other people start making illegal connections because we are humans, we're trying to survive, of course. But people will start making illegal connections, and it's illegal, by the way, to do so. And then there's no schools as well, because no government came and built a school in an informal settlement. So an informal settlement, usually people stay there and they grow up, but their parents will always tell them, tell their kids who are going to school, dynamic, go and learn so that you can be able to take us out of this situation. They say this is one good motivation for someone. So in case you thought that life is easier for everyone, then I'm introducing you to the informal settlement. Things are not easy there, but people do everything to do so that they do everything that they can so that they can be able to survive, at least survive, and be able to take their parents out of these unhealthy conditions. Furthermore, there is high poverty levels there. Obviously, there is high poverty level because the fact that people built these houses with cheap materials such as zinc and whatnot, it is because people did not afford to buy bricks to build bigger foundations, or they did not even afford to get an apartment within the urban areas, maybe within the low income residential area, maybe within here, they did not get that much money to do that. So instead, they just used their own materials to build their housing. So the materials are not strong, by the way. The weather conditions, the other thing, when there's weather, all right, so informal settlements, they are exposed to intense weather conditions. So these ones are exposed to intense weather. Why are they exposed to intense weather? It's because when you're making a house out of zinc, when it's very hot, you're going to feel very hot. Yeah. Like you guys already know that these materials, they trap heat. The zinc traps heat quite a lot. It absorbs a lot of heat. I'm sure you learned that in climatology. So intense weather conditions here, even when it's raining, sometimes the water can be able to leak into the room because no one built this like formally, right? People just combined a couple of materials and they made sure they cover up the patches so that you can have a roof to sleep on. Okay. So if you are a person maybe in watching this video, or someone who's within the session and you are living this life, you should get this as a motivation to say, Oti, you are doing everything for survival. But if you get educated, at some point you'll be able to take yourself out of the situation, or you'll be able to build a house, because what your parents could not do, you should do. And I hope that you guys get the message well here. So these people are exposed to intense weather conditions. The weather conditions here are very bad. When it gets hot, they also feel a lot of heat. When it gets cold, they feel cold as well. The rain can seep into the place and all of that. So yeah, there's high poverty levels as well. There's also high crime rates. There's a lot of crime here because there's no police station. There's no police that will come here. Informal settlements, they are usually neglected from the world. They are just alone, isolated. Okay. They are usually found far away, very far away, even from the low-income residential areas. So informal settlements, they are far away. They are just, they don't have any order. They are just dense housing. The houses are closely packed to one another. Unhealthy conditions when it comes to the health. Since they don't have toilets, basically they need to use the pit toilets. They don't have flushable toilets. They use pit toilets. Pit toilets, you just dig a hole and then you use that hole as your toilet. There's flies there. There's all of that. And it gets smelly and whatnot. All of those are unhealthy conditions, but it's all for survival, by the way. So unhealthy conditions. And then the housing is very dense, as I've already told you guys. The housing is very dense. And then the street patterns are completely unplanned. Remember when I explained to you guys about street patterns in the previous two sessions, I told you of the unplanned irregular street pattern. The unplanned irregular street pattern, I told you that this is a street pattern for the what? Usually for the informal settlements, this one. An unplanned irregular street pattern. There's no clear design or plan to these roads. People just build their shack here, another one build their shack here, another one builds their shack here, and then obviously you need to develop a road somewhere. They don't have a clear road. Sometimes you see the road would be curving and getting inside and curving again. All of that is part of what we are having at the informal settlement. Okay, so this one is the typical street pattern for them. It is the unplanned irregular street pattern. So the typical pattern for them, it is unplanned irregular. So it's unplanned irregular street pattern. That's the street pattern that we have here in the informal settlements. Okay, hope that makes sense, grade 12s. Let's go to the last two land use zones and yeah, we'll be done. So we've got the green belt or the recreation, all right? So now, what is a green belt, right? So even if we're in an urban area with dense buildings and stuff like that, we often have a place that has got nothing, just an empty space that has got lots of trees. So at the green belt, there is no buildings in the area, right? So there are no buildings in the area, or they are just trees usually. So this is usually the green belt area is usually used for park. When we look at it from the MapWork perspective, let's just look at the MapWork perspective. From the MapWork perspective, you're just going to see this area here. This area here does not have any buildings. It's just a lot of trees and trees and trees. This is from the aerial photograph. You can see that this is just a green belt in pejorative. So basically, a green belt does not have any buildings. It's just a place with trees. It's usually used for public gardens. It's used for parks and sports fields. You'll see that in a sport field, there's no buildings there. It's just people who come and play some sports. Sometimes it's a park. People come and just relax there, have some picnics. Okay, so the area just has got a lot of trees and lawns. So it's just trees and lawns. So what is the purpose of having a green belt in an urban area? Having a green belt is very important because it helps to clean the air. I think I explained this in term 1 when you talked about the urban heat island. When you say the green belt is supposed to be the right, a place that has got some trees. We need more trees because the trees, they absorb carbon dioxide and then they release oxygen, number 1. So they are cleaning the air. The air will always have good oxygen. The air around this place will always have good oxygen. Remember, guys, that these topics are related to one another. Global warming is something that we are currently facing right now. The temperatures are rapidly increasing on Earth. It's because of the buildings, the dense buildings that we are using, the chemicals that we are using, all of that. But we bring green belts and these green belts to be able to clean the air in the urban areas and to make the urban areas refreshing. And then it's also to calm traffic. So calming the traffic and also reducing the noise levels. You guys need to know that the trees, they act as noise breakers. So when you're within the trees, you don't really hear the noise from the CBD or the noise from the other side. Look at this photograph. We've got a CBD here. We've got the dense buildings in a CBD on one side. On the other side, we've got this park here, this green belt, this park here. So at this park here, the people that will be standing here at this park, like far away from the CBD, they don't really get to hear a lot of noise from the CBDs because they are trees that are acting as a noise breakers. Okay, so they reduce noise levels. It's just to create a peaceful area within the business district that you are having or within this urban area. Because most people, they focus on the urban area as a business area. They are focusing on just doing business, a lot of business and a lot of money. That's what people are focused on. But to be able to also care for our environment, to be able to protect the air that we breathe, to be able to reduce the temperatures so that we don't get overheating and global warming, we need to introduce some green belts. Okay. So green belts, they are usually, you just look at your map. Usually whenever they want to ask about this, they'll give you some map like this. Green belts, how do you see a green belt? just gonna see an empty area. The area will have some trees there and no buildings. Yeah. So the last is the rural urban fringe. So finally, when you are now exiting or when you are now moving out of the urban area, the last part that you see is a rural urban fringe. Let's just look at it from the urban profile that we have. The rural urban fringe, this one, the rural urban fringe is found in the outskirts of the built-up area. Okay, so this is far away from the CBD. This is the furthest away from the CBD. It's like you are now moving out of the urban area. You are now going to a rural area now. So now when you are now going to the rural area, you are going to see a zone known as the rural urban fringe. The rural urban fringe. So the rural urban fringe, what does it do? So the rural urban fringe is just a mixed land use zone. It's a mixture of what? Of both urban. So it's both urban and rural functions. Pancho Valley, you are now leaving the urban areas. You're now going to the rural areas. Remember, guys, it's like this. You have got an urban area here, and then you now move to a what? To a rural area. When you move away from an urban area, from the city center and all of that, you move to a rural area. But there is a place. There is a place that has got mixed function of both urban areas and rural areas, and that is known as the rural urban fringe. That's why we call it the rural urban fringe. So the rural urban fringe has got a mixture of activities, urban activities, rural activities, all together. So you know already that rural areas, they are usually unifunctional. They are farming and whatnot. So if you see a farm here or you see something that has to do with farming, don't get surprised. If you see some cows here, don't get surprised. You are leaving the urban area. So you are leaving the what? The urban area. So here there is urban functions such as rubbish dumps, airports, cemeteries, and golf courses. Usually the urban functions that you're going to find here is golf courses. People who like playing golf, they usually do it in the outskirts of the city. You find cemeteries here. That's where people are buried, the graveyards. You find even airports here and all of that. So the place where you usually find airports is the rural urban fringe, is far away from the CBD. Remember, guys, the airports, they need space. Okay, they need a lot of space because when an aircraft needs to propagate into the air, it needs space. It needs space, and it makes a lot of noise. So an airport must be located far away from the CBD. So usually it is located at the rural urban fringe. So the land use starts to change from rural to urban as the city expands. So we're still going to talk about this concept later on as part of the urban areas problems. Okay, the city can be able to expand or the city can be able to grow. So when a city is growing, basically what happens, this place usually they start making some buildings on the rural urban fringe because there's no other space. You know, guys, that a rural area can expand to become bigger and bigger and big. But we're still going to talk about urban growth and all of that, and urban expansion, those two. But basically, when the urban area now needs to expand, maybe now we are doing this thing known as decentralization. Actually, the CBD has got a lot of buildings, guys. The CBD has got a lot of buildings. So if I want to start a business and then the CBD is full of other buildings, I can go and find an empty space and start building my business there. So I can even build it here at the rural urban fringe. So it's like I'm making the urban area to become bigger and bigger and bigger. If someone else comes and builds in the same area, we can have 50 buildings now at the rural urban fringe. So it's no longer an empty space now. So the rural urban fringe can change. It's not a place that stays constant. It can change. If more businesses decentralize or if more companies move from the CBD, because some companies, they move from the CBD, maybe they don't afford to be at the CBD anymore. So they go and start looking for other place to relocate. They will just go here at the rural urban fringe because at the rural urban fringe, there is space as well. So there's space at the rural-urban fringe. And also, the large properties, there are also large properties here because the land is often cheap. Valley is far away from the CBD, as I've already said, guys. The land is cheap. And then it is less developed as well because there's no one that even gives attention to the rural urban fringe. Usually there's not even services that come, service delivery here. And then it just appears as small plots of land. So this is known as a rural urban fringe. So when you're at the rural urban fringe, you are now exiting the urban area. So you'll be actually exiting the urban area, you'll actually be moving far away and you are moving out of the urban area. Are we together, great of?
Sir.
Awesome. Okay.